up next, you're going to find your June 2020 Practically Soulful reading. You'll know what I mean in the reading. I've just noticed my nose has cleared, so the whole reading I had sinus issues. You can see further, but they've cleared. At the very end of the reading, it all cleared. So your theme for the month in many ways is a desire for change. When we know we're desiring change on deeper levels, whether we've acknowledged this or not, whether we're experiencing those frustrations, change is here, and change likes to call out to us in some way or not. When that's happening, it's because we know on some level something isn't making us happy. On some level we're seeking whatever happiness means for us, and its definition in this moment, yeah? It takes a little bravery to get honest with ourselves, to be able to put down those boundaries, to be able to make those requests, make those choices, and most of all carry the weight of the consequences that come with the movement towards change, yeah? It's a beautiful reading. Stay tuned, it's up next. Aries, good morning. Well, I don't know if it's morning where you are. My name is Ali from Indigo Ascension. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. Thank you for watching. Thanks for being here. My channel is dedicated to empaths, intuitives and sensitives, those that might identify that they're on the awakening path or journey. On the channel, you'll find fortnightly and monthly readings. And the intention, the healing intention with all of my readings is basically to connect you in with what you already intuitively know, okay? So when we're on this journey, the path, whatever the case may be, how do we best ground down this higher wisdom, higher consciousness, higher knowing? How do we ascend out of old paradigms, you know? Perhaps this embodiment process is a simple, well, it's not simple, merging the two together. Yeah, it's about bringing down that high consciousness and wisdom down into the everyday realities that we find ourselves in, Aries, to make them a better experience, you know, to see them in a new way, to see our old limitations in a way. And it's perhaps then we experience genuine transformation and change, when perception shifts occur like that for us. If you haven't already, go check out your May readings. There'll be 3 there. We continue with this theme of retrogrades, cosmically speaking. I like to do a bit of a cosmic recap with all of my readings. Now, in May, we saw 4 planets. We still have 4 planets in retrograde, okay? So Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, and Venus. Collectively speaking, these themes, these energies are weaving together to create a theme. We're learning about the rules, boundaries, and structures, the karma, I guess, even, that we've been living by when it comes to love, connection, intimacy. We're looking at the ways in which we've fundamentally experienced expansion and growth, what our relationship is to abundance and manifestation, how we've perhaps pushed away opportunities, and we do that quite a lot, how we've pushed away opportunities for this very growth because of our fears. Now, all of the planets work simultaneously like that, and this recipe, if you like, Aries, is available for us to tap into. However, life is cyclical, and so too are the stars and planetary placements. These occurrences happen every couple of years, every year, whatever the case may be. But here we are in June 2020 with 4 planets in retrograde, with a 5th planet about to enter the mix too. Now Mercury enters the mix, and with the current 4 planets, it's really about introspection. It's going in, and as we can all identify with on the global stage, there's a lot of relative energy that pertains to this introspective energy. You know, we're all experiencing lockdown in one way or another, and it provides the perfect environment, if you like, for a genuine, thorough going within the timeline, really getting to the root and the core of my original beliefs. Why do I have that belief? Why do I have that fear? Why have I always done that a certain way? Was it taught to me, given to me, told? Was I told that that's just how things are done, you know? Very rarely does our society genuinely encourage us to look within and determine those rules for self, yeah? Very rarely does our society encourage us to go within and truly discover those truths for self and redefine all of those definitions in many ways, Aries. And that's the gift of the retrogrades. We get to ask ourselves, where to from here? We're going back through the timeline for a reason. Natural part of that is the past will show up into our awareness, whether it be via a person, idea, a feeling, an old memory, whatever the case is, an old issue that we didn't address, didn't close off from. It's there for a reason. It's there to remind us either how far we have come, where we've originally learned a core issue, where the problem originally stemmed from, perhaps. And it's not about placing external blame or blame external to us. It's about really going within and seeing the genuine connectivity in all things, all relationships. And relationships, love, connection are the very classrooms in which we learn everything. We see the reflection of ourselves. We see the reflection of a truth, perhaps. It is here that perceptions of self are formed based on the feedback of our environment, yeah? Beautiful energy. And if we don't like change, of course it's going to be uncomfortable. With the 5th planet Mercury going into retrograde on June the 10th, in June, that's the number of change. 5 is guaranteed, whether we're pushed, whether we're encouraged, or choose. On one level or another, something and many things can change due to all this activity of upheaval, you know. There's actually a 6th planet in retrograde, but I want to more so focus that on towards the end of June. We've got 2 eclipses this month, and that's why June is significant, because this launches, you know, that final letting go, the final eclipsing. It is a very much an ending and a beginning energy. It's very much a love-hate energy. It's very much a restriction and expansion energy. Freedom versus oppression. You know, it's this push-pull, this conflicted energy, and change is demanding us to do something to unlock that vault. Now, that energy can be experienced in so many different ways, yes, but it is there for a reason. We're being called to something other than here, you know, with a full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius on the 5th of June and a solar eclipse in Cancer on the 21st, which is the same day as solstice, which is the same changing of the seasons into Cancer, where we've got this change of guard energy that really is permeating for a lot of us. We're going to feel endings and beginnings quite strongly. We're going to be drawn to the new, whatever that might be. I just want something new. I'm frustrated with the same old, or this has to change once and for all. Like I said, we're being pushed, we're being gently guided, or we're being encouraged, depending on where we're at in our own journey. So beautiful energy for genuine transformation if we want to grab the opportunity by the reins. Okay, so as an Aries, you guys are fantastic with taking the bull by the horns, of course, but let's take a look at your monthly reading now for June, your practically soulful reading. I'm just trying to connect into your energies recently. I am finding the zodiac readings are very much weaving a story based on the frequencies I'm picking up on. There's a lot of progressive energy. I do see in many ways the Aries that I've been connecting into, no matter how many times you've watched, whether you've watched every single video on the channel or not, there's been a letting go in recent months. There's been decision points and deciding points, but there's also more recently in the last couple of readings has been this temptation to open our heart again, to trust in the new, okay? So perhaps in many ways this month with this push-pull energy, you will be more strongly drawn to the new, Aries, quite enthusiastically, or quite annoyingly have that little thing, that niggling thing that should have been dealt with, done. Why do I still feel that? It will show up for a final eclipsing, okay? That is the gift of the eclipses. We truly can eclipse the remnants of the energies that are still permeating that no longer serve us. Honesty, loneliness, happiness, change, blame. Underneath all this is the energy of imagination. Okay, Aries, let's take a look. Now, I see here in the past, you've really come out of this creative desire for change, okay? Whether you've actively instigated change in your life, whether you've actively made some choices to create those steps that will lead you to change, or even that simple awareness, okay? May has been a powerhouse of a month with the retrograde energies to really take us back through the timeline. What got me to here? Why am I living this routine, this life? Why am I in this relationship? Whatever the case may be, I do see I'm connecting into many areas out there that activated the sacral chakra energy. And you could have been doing something as simple as creativity. You might have been activating that sacral chakra energy, you know, and feeling more sensual and connected into your divine essence in that regard, Aries. And really talking even about the change you're wanting to create, or getting inspired by the communications around you, the messages. This might even just be a simple internal process. Really communicating with self about the desire for change first. And sure, you could have been communicating with the others around you if it's relative. You're coming out of this energy. I see that you've experienced this energy in the past. And yes, sometimes it wants to rear its ugly head. We experience conflict, we experience confusion, or just a tiresome, bogged down of a feeling when it comes to our life and our routine and the relationships we're in, and that eat, sleep, repeat, whatever the case may be. You know, you've been desiring change, hence those frustrations have been coming up for a reason, and it really has been affecting your creativity. Okay, you don't have to be a creative person in the mainstream term. We can feel blocked from genuinely creating change when we experience a block in our creativity. I can't see my way out of a situation, out of my current reality. It's a deep desire for change, but perhaps also not knowing the first step and feeling overwhelmed, knowing it's going to take quite a lot of steps. And sure, that is the case, you know. Rome wasn't built in a day, and all major projects require awesome planning and perhaps even a multi-skilled team rather than just one person. So this is about you reaching out for support in many ways too, is what I'm picking up on. Not that this card represents that or the sacral chakra represents that, but I am picking up on an energy where in the past it became apparent, where some Aries may have had to engage the assistance of an outside person, service provider, whatever the case may be, support, even delegating responsibilities to truly free up your creative center. But yeah, the strongest thing I'm picking up on here is there was this desire for change. And sometimes we can just have those days where we're like, oh, because we've repressed and repressed and repressed, and we've been diligent, we've been the good person and kept going, but enough is enough. So it's very realistic that sometimes that frustration energy can come too. That notifies us that it is time for a change. Maybe that's relevant, Aries. I understand that nothing can grow or evolve without movement. There's this desire for movement, a coming out of. And if you have been beautifully connected into this creative energy within you, within this sacral chakra energy within you, dreaming and scheming and using the retrograde energy, you know, to your advantage, where you really are going within, Aries, now is the time in June, thanks to this Mercury coming into retrograde as well. Mercury is the planet of communications, hence we always seem to have communication dramas when it comes to Mercury retrograde and mishaps. It's deeper still, the intention behind the retrograde of that planet is to perfect our communication. Now, obviously, nothing in life is perfect. It is not about striving for perfection, but it is about authenticity. It is about action. It is about, okay, so I'm complaining about change. What am I going to do about it? And that's what this card's about. That energy is wanting out, okay? The energy we output to the world is all well and good, dreaming and thinking. You know, it's that saying, thought, prayer, and meditation is great and all, but it is action that counts in the eyes of the universe. And we've learned a lot with 4 planets in retrograde during May. Think back to the end of April, to how far and how many things have happened that have taught you things about yourself, reflecting things upon you. Reflection is an important thing here. I am feeling a mirror, and I'll explain that a little bit more. But now with Mercury in retrograde in June, you are going to feel like it is time to act. And we can be hesitant because of behaviors, because of reluctance, because of fear, because of old ways of perceiving things. You know, this energy will build up, and it will continue to do so until it's out in some way. What better way to let that out than within our complete control, rather than in uncontrollable ways, yeah? Energy always wants out. So this month, in very many ways, it's this change. Steps are going to be required here of you this month. There's going to be a mirror. And I feel very strongly I'm connecting into Aries that are working with Jupiter energy here. How have you allowed yourself to expand and grow? How have you limited yourself from expansion and growth? All right? It is a time for getting honest. And despite our relationship with honesty, you know, we really can redefine it in the moment. This honesty centers your reading. There's been a level or a need to be honest with self. And I feel this repressive energy. I feel that the desire for change has been there, but the actions have not been. The communication perhaps have not been too. For some of the areas that I'm connecting into, time to get honest with ourselves and be willing to see our situation. This is a lot of third eye energy when I look at this honesty card. In order to willingly communicate what I'm seeing now. Please don't mind my blocked nose. Can you tell? So I've had to pause the video a few times. Oh, it's a little bit chilly where I am. It doesn't happen often. I live in the tropics, but when it is, we're not used to it. There's a time for honesty here, Aries, and this honesty starts in here. It is a communion we have with self first, so that we can start to see what we perhaps thought as blocks or oppressions towards genuine change really do not exist. Yeah? And yes, with this card, it does say that just because I can't always expect the truth from others, I can expect it from myself. This is about our relationship with honesty and authenticity. You are centered in it this month, redefining your experience of it in many ways with all of this retrograde energy. We are tempted by Mercury to truly communicate our truth, our desire for change, our needs, the supports we're needing in order to instigate those changes, you know. It came up in another reading and I'm just wondering who that was. It might have been Scorpio or Virgo. I'm not sure if you're connecting into either of those zodiacs, but the three hardest things to say are perhaps I'm sorry, I love you, and can you help me? This is what I'm feeling here. There's a desire here for change, but also knowing in thyself that we're going to require the support of someone else. We're going to at least require the communication of that desire for change. That communion happens within self. And the reason I'm saying this is because I'm experiencing a mirror. I'm experiencing a mirror with my outside reality because I've been used to doing things on my own. I'm used to doing things alone. And there's a difference, yeah, between being alone and feeling lonely. You don't have to travel this journey alone. There is a lot of safety in being alone, yes, because we only have ourselves to blame. We then have no one to blame it on. If something doesn't go right, that's a relative energy here. Right? The blame card is popping up in the future. There's a need here to determine how much solitude is necessary to truly dream and create and know thyself. But at some point we have to trust in the connection of that energy that leaves us, whether it is stating our truth, stating our boundary, stating a desire. We have to trust in the connection that a very big part of that alchemical process for that change energy to start engaging is it's going to have to connect into something else, whether that's another person. And I'm seeing it as an energy. It's almost like we're trying to avoid conflict here is what I'm feeling. I want change. I want change. In my head, my beliefs tell me that change will require conflict with others, feeling alone, and that my desires for change to truly change my life. I don't want to feel alone if I voice this opinion, if I voice this desire for change. If I no longer want to play this role. Don't allow the perceived threat of loneliness to keep your desire for change at bay, is what I'm picking up on, Aries. And on the same coin, because this is like a disc, yeah? On the same coin, on the other side of this, it looks like this, but on the other side of this coin, I want to say, don't allow the safety of loneliness to hold you back from the desire for change. So I'm picking up on two frequencies there, Aries. I'm picking up on Aries that will essentially have to go and open their heart to reach out. And it's not about opening your heart per se, it's about willing to embrace the energy of change at the risk of the consequences that it will come with. All choices come with the weight of consequence. And it's about really getting to the nitty-gritty. And we can really get lost in our future thinking, Aries. I think I came up with this in the Virgo reading, we could really overthink so much to the point, as Virgos usually do. Overthink to the point that we've come up with every possible scenario that it's going to go down. But we'll get knocked off our horse if something happens that doesn't pertain to that plan, as thorough as it is, yeah? It's about flexibility. It's about trusting that this energy must come out, this desire must come out, this communion that has to happen within self, this communion for desire for change is happening within self, and it probably has been happening for a long time. So like I said, I'm connecting to Aries that on one side of the coin, there's safety and loneliness. You are used to doing things on your own. And there's also Aries that don't want to be alone if they desire to implement this change, because they may lose the connection they currently have. Underneath all this is happiness. Now this is something beautiful, Aries, It's not a state of permanence. This is an energy that exists fleetingly for a while. Is it our goal? Sure. But with that, we must know that the sacrifice is knowing that we're only going to experience it for a limited time, because all of life is cyclical. All experiences are cyclical. But underneath all this, whatever it is that you're wanting change, where you are now, whether you are risking loneliness, whether you are risking opening up to allow others in, okay? Both sides of this coin is what I'm picking up on. And we can all relate to both, Aries. Those of us that are independent and strong and not used to asking others for help or allowing ourselves to open to trust and to allow, and that could happen on friendship levels, love levels, anything, okay? We can all relate to that fear that comes with coming to a point where we have to decide, am I ready to share myself with someone? Am I ready to open my heart and be vulnerable? Just as we can all relate to not wanting to lose those connections that are important to us simply because we desire change on little and big levels. We're losing something either way in our minds. We're losing our independence, our safety of being autonomous. We're losing the comfort of connections, or maybe we're losing nothing at all. But it goes without saying that there is weight of consequences with every choice, and that is the cycle of life. That is just how things go, and happiness exists through many different moments. Not at all moments, not every day, not all moments, but it definitely exists at so many points in the timeline. You are grounded and wanting to be grounded in this desire for happiness. This has been about really getting to the heart chakra, the heart of it all. This love, this heart chakra expansion, what makes you happy? This change, will it make... I'm not currently happy, and that's my focus, and I desire that. I'm communicating it. Happiness is a high frequency energy. It's this dolphin energy. Dolphins, if you look at them symbolically, they're so free and just, well, they're sensual, aren't they? They're very good with their sacral chakra. They're very promiscuous, and they're like us. They connect for the enjoyment of connection. And there's a desire here for Aries out there to infuse the foundations of their being with this genuine energy, whatever happiness means for you. There's a current situation, living arrangement, condition, relationship, whatever, job, that you really are getting honest and real with yourself and asking yourself, does it make me happy? What does happiness look like for me if you really are upending your whole life? do want to say, Aries, that every single choice we make comes with the weight of their consequences. And when we do so with a full heart, knowing we are ready for any consequence without overthinking it, and at the risk of being knocked off our horse, like I said earlier, that if a probable outcome doesn't happen, then it means we're not going to be happy. Then if with a full heart we're truly open to the possibilities of all, and that we are well equipped to handle every outcome, that is perhaps the most freeing feeling. That keeps us in this vibration longer. And if something doesn't work out, how do we allow the energy of blame to infuse us to a point that it really affects our solar plexus, our willpower? Because if I'm the person making the decision because I have a desire to change back here, and then I've opened my heart, am I being conditional on my desire for happiness? That is completely my responsibility. And that if it doesn't work because I have opened my heart to another, I have been vulnerable, I have relied on that energy to connect into it, something external to myself, whether that's a person, a job, whatever the case may be, am I then being unaccountable when happiness does not arrive because of my choice? Am I then reflecting that and projecting that back onto my external as their responsibility? No person, no job, no relationship, no house, no living circumstance can make us happy. Happiness is a frequency that exists within. It's a culmination of our thoughts and our emotions, and a commitment every time that we notice that we're perhaps not there, to decide, is it okay? Do we accept that we're not there yet? Am I going to allow myself to have this day where I just want to be on my own? Because I feel like watching sad movies and crying because I've just lost my job, or because I've just, whatever, ended a relationship. We're not naturally going to be happy on day 2 of that. I mean, sure, some people might be. Some people might be still celebrating with a glass of wine the very next morning. Sorry, I don't mean to belittle that, but it is not natural to expect us to be happy all of the time. And I feel here there's that temptation to dip back into old paradigms, old ways of being, where we're deflecting our very own empowering accountability to accept the consequences of our choices. We are the ones that navigate our path, Aries. We are the ones that navigate our journey. And we are solely responsible for them. Sorry, Aries. I always look at the symbolism and the cryptic messages of anything that happens while I'm connecting into frequencies and energy. So, metaphysics of a runny nose, that's definitely hidden tears, repressed tears. Well, I'm just trying to determine how that is for you. Like, I certainly don't feel like I need to cry at the moment, but there's something there that perhaps might be relevant to some Aries out there, that they've been holding back their tears. There's a holdback of emotions. This communication is what I'm picking up on, which is ultimately blocking creativity on some level. There's a deep need to get honest, and this communication happens with self, okay? Maybe in the past, Aries, we have been honest with others, and so it's like, yeah, that's great, Ali, but it didn't work out for me when I was last time, Or maybe I'm connecting into areas where they've experienced that much dishonesty that they choose to be lonely on some level because we can't rely on other people to be honest. There's a question here of what it means to be truly grounded in happiness. Like I said, it's a combination of being real and accepting that in order to get here, to live a life that makes me happy, to be within a connection that makes me happy, and to make a choice that makes me happy is the full accountability of knowing that that choice will come with the consequence of everything that it entails. The acceptance that it's realistic to decide that not every day will feel happy, not every moment will feel happy. And when we dip into that, dip into the risk of putting that accountability outside of ourselves, we can then affect our very own willpower and life force, because we're dipping into blame energy. I am responsible for my own well-being. I accept responsibility for my own well-being, I should say. Look how beautiful that yellow is. It's the color of the sun, and there's third eye upgrades there, and it's centered in beautiful sacral chakra energy with some beautiful blue and more yellow. Like it's the center of being. Like blame can really affect our genuine self-confidence. It can hold us back as an energy force. And yes, there is safety in loneliness. And yes, there is safety in not connecting and not being vulnerable. But how are we being honest with ourselves about how much those choices to keep ourselves safe and not upset the apple cart too much, because sometimes change can be a very scary thing. How much are those ultimately impacting my happiness and my well-being? And who is responsible for those? Regardless of what happens around me and the decisions people make, whether they put boundaries down and say no, whether they say yes, I choose to release and open and state my place, make my requests, ask, speak my truth, to announce who I am. Whether life doesn't meet me at that level, in that very moment, within that specific connection, within that specific job, it will eventually. It is cyclical, just like happiness is cyclical. Just like grief is cyclical, just like blame can be cyclical, just like experiences around loneliness and change is cyclical. All of life is cyclical. The stars are, just for now, just for this time, just for you. What do you choose to take responsibility for and be authentic when it comes to the change you are wishing to seek and implement? All right, my dear, let's take a look at the tarot. Okay, let's take a look. Maybe, I'm just all this runny nose and cold sneezing. Maybe I'm connecting into areas that are feeling just that. Maybe you are run down with a little bit of a cold. So I do hope you are well and keeping warm. But I feel cold today. Like I get cold quite easily. But I feel cold today, and I've had to pause your video so many times just to go and blow my nose. All clearing, okay? Sneezing is clearing. In order to create change, we must clear out the dross. We must clear out the old, okay? The old ways of believing, seeing, old routines. I'm connecting into areas that want change for sure. And a big part of that is when the past comes up, past old feelings, looking into the past, why I made that decision to be where I am now. Whatever the case may be, we have to go through that. And maybe there is some repressed emotions in there somewhere for some of the areas I'm connecting into. Especially with this energy that crowds you of loneliness. The Five of Cups, there's a loss, there's an emotional loss here that's been healing. Sorry, please don't mind my runny nose. You're definitely going through a spiritual healing here of an emotional loss of some kind. It does feel like repressed tears. Four of Pentacles, the Ace of Cups, the Seven of Swords, the Two of Wands, the Six of Cups, the Page of Swords, the Three of Wands, the Knight of Swords, the Five of Wands, and the Hermit. Underneath all this, Aries, is the Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles is all about our dynasty. It's the legacy that we're wanting to build and create and leave behind. It's a family card. It's commitment. It's the path I'm committing to. It's what I want to build moving forward. It's It's a dowry card in many ways too. It's success. Okay, so when I tie that in, that I just accidentally flicked that. Everything is of purpose. There's blame energy here when it comes to those energies. The life I was meant to build, the career path that was meant to bring me success. There's blame energy here in relation to the Ten of Pentacles. This might be in relation to family, money, okay? Marriage, money. There's blame here when it comes to a marriage, a commitment, a partnership that feels like commitment. Where does the energy of blame sit within you? I accept responsibility for my well-being. This decision to be lonely because it's safe. How is blame getting in the way of you going for your Four of Wands, your happily ever after, your commitment? So there's a couple of storylines there for different areas that I'm picking up on. There's a spiritual soulmate commitment. This is commitment, this is marriage. But this Ten of Pentacles landed on the blame card. How is a career, a business, finances, extended family, money even, getting in the way of my commitment? This marriage that I've got, this relationship that feels like a marriage. What are the higher spiritual principles that I'm learning? When it comes to the Hierophant in relation to these things, you might be connecting into a Taurus, Aries. Alright, the Two of Cups. Wow, that could just keep going. There's a change here. Where did I get that from? That goes there, that goes there, that goes there. There's a wanting of a new beginning. Okay, this is the energy I'm picking up on at the beginning of the month. You might identify this as what I call the 4 quadrants, okay? So in all of my healing work, I talk about the 5 levels of being. We are more than just a physical level. We're an emotional body, a thought body, an energy body, and a soul. How they intertwine and balance is unique to us all. All of us are very, very familiar with the physical. You know, our reality, our society tells us to focus on the physical, what we look like, what we're doing, what's on the surface, because that is what is real, that can be held, that is tangible. We're familiar with emotions, but we repress them. You know, we're also very familiar with our thoughts. Sometimes we're not using our mind to its highest potential because we get trapped in the overthinking. Very rarely in our mainstream society do we hear much or learn much about the energy body or the soul. But I feel personally all 5 are essential to truly understand self and how multidimensional we really are. So you might notice these energies, those levels of being, the quadrants, the dimensions of you come up in your reading, and I might refer to that. You might also like to divide this up into the first, you know, the 4 weeks of the month, okay? So week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. All of it tells a story. All of it ties into your soul cross, the energy that is presenting for you this month, Aries. Because of the nose thing, because of the sinus thing, and what I was talking about, repressed emotions and this loneliness, this desire for change, this need for honesty, so I can ground myself in happiness and only having myself to blame if I don't make choices that lead to that ultimately. There's this emotional loss here, a spiritual healing that has to happen first for many Aries, you know. But I do see here, you're holding on to something. You're trying to control a process in some way. This feels like holding back tears. When I look at all of this energy, there's an emotional loss here in the 5 of Cups that you can't yet see your new beginning because this celebration. No, Rosie, don't jump up. Sorry, my cat's trying to get in. Look at the position he's in. See how in front of him, and he's got his head down, he's got 3 cups that have fallen over. The 3 of Cups as a card. This is the 5 of Cups. The 3 of Cups is a celebration card. It is the coming together. It's a celebration of anything, of that. It's a party. It's a family affair. It's an engagement, a birthday, a wedding. It's the coming together of family and those who feel like family. I see here, I'm connecting to Aries, that there's some loss. Everything's fallen down when it comes to something and connections that emotionally fulfill you. And see behind him, he can't see his 2 of Cups. But there is a beginning here. Yes, there's a loss, but with every loss, there is also a gain. With every ending, there is a beginning, because not far away is this Two of Cups energy underneath the deck. You haven't quite seen it yet. And this all ties in. This is relevant. I'm connecting into Aries that are grieving, holding on to grief, holding on to the emotions of loss, not allowing themselves a full, perhaps therapeutic experience of a spiritual healing. That's what the Temperance card is. It's a healing. And healing happens in little ways, Aries. And those little ways count for everything, okay? The Four of Coins is the piggy bank. It's that steady progress, and that's why I mentioned little ways. It's not the 10 of Coins, yes, but it's the 4, and it will be a 10 one day. We will feel healed one day. We will get over a loss one day. Well, we deal with loss in different ways is how that change integrates, I should say, sorry. It's not that we ever truly get over all losses, you know. I do respectfully acknowledge that every loss is different for us all. And the energy of grief is a hard one to carry for sure. But it changes form, yeah, it is an energy. It changes form within us. We experience it in different ways. And it is perhaps our perceptions of that loss that change rather than the energy of grief itself. It's probably a more clear and elegant way to say it. I do see here, and I know this is perhaps even tying into your personality, Aries, because you are quite headstrong and responsible for self and wanting to take on things, and this is you holding on to perhaps the responsibility of, well, I can't cry, Ali. I can't keep crying over this loss. I haven't got time for a healing. Sagittarius energy is relevant. Maybe you're connecting into a Sagittarius. Maybe Sagittarius season is relevant for you, November into December. Okay. But there was this new beginning here that either tempted us. I'm so sorry about my nose. I'm just, it really is running. And connecting into the Aries, I feel like there's unexpressed tears. I really should blow my nose again. I really need to upload this video because I want to finish them all today. So excuse me. Maybe there was this new beginning, Aries, okay? This new beginning in love, this refresh and reset, something that you loved, someone that you loved, an opportunity to love. This is relevant for the unexpressed tears, okay? The loss, the emotional loss that happened. Maybe there was this new beginning. I feel like there's this past energy because this is a re-emergence, a rethinking back to a time, all right? Maybe there was this new beginning that required you or another to be quite strategic, even to the point of being deceptive. Maybe we were dealing with deceptive energy, okay? There was a new beginning that had an element to deception about it that we thought was going to be an opportunity. This is relevant to the tears. This is relevant to the unexpressed emotions. Maybe there was a new beginning that we thought was a genuine opportunity but ended up being quite strategic and selfish, okay? Apply that however it resonates. There was a false start, a false beginning, okay, that affected us, and that perhaps is still where this energy of blame and honesty is coming in, okay? Blaming self for making the choice to be vulnerable and trust. Well, that's great, Ali. I once wanted to choose happiness and I chose trust and I chose to be vulnerable because I didn't want to be alone anymore. And then this is what happened. I thought it was a beautiful new beginning and a great opportunity. It ended up being quite narcissistic and selfish. Do you understand the frequency I'm talking about? To me, this feels like a false start or a start that wasn't quite realized or an experience that this feels like past energy to me. And in the second week of June, I feel this is coming up into awareness. Whether it is an experience that's currently happening now. This frequency feels like something similar from the past that you're actually still in grief over in some way, and that's why this will affect you probably in a bigger way. I really do feel like I need to clarify that. The reason I say that is because there's past energy at play here, Aries. And when the past comes into play, it's connections from the past. It's perhaps those connections that we haven't talked to for a while. You're wanting a graduation from that past energy too. See how the Two of Wands previously now turns into the Three. We've been watching and waiting for communication somehow. It's also a stalking card. We're wanting to manifest a new beginning with someone from our past. This is a soul bond. Bonds that feel like home, okay? Someone from our past, from our childhood even. It's that kind of congeniality that I've been missing, and I now feel lonely, Aries. There's a potential new beginning here, but a loss, an emotional loss, to truly embrace the opportunity of this new beginning, to truly embrace any opportunity for a new beginning moving forward, Aries, is about releasing this loss that's happened. And I know it doesn't happen as easy like that. I just want to clarify these, because I feel strongly that there's this frequency that ties you back to the past. With the second week of June, an event, a person from the past comes back. Old emotions arise that blocks us from new beginnings, that ultimately blocks us from taking a step forward into a new beginning as a potential. What is this, Aries? Yeah, it's a Tower moment, love. Oh wow, the Lovers just came out reversed. My cards never come out reversed. I can see a frequency here. I can see an energetic cord and a thread. In the month, I strongly feel that in the second week of June, there's going to be a realization of this repressed emotion, of this the repressed tears. Like, my nose has not stopped running. Like, I've been cold this morning and sneezed a couple of times, but I didn't have a runny nose before I started. And as soon as I sat down to do your reading, my nose has not stopped running. But I'm not feeling emotional. So as an Aries, you know, like, I've got an Aries in my life that I love with all my heart, and she holds her emotions in so strongly that, you know, well, I'm her mother, so I can tell when she's not feeling herself, when she's not feeling happy. But on the outside, you wouldn't know. If you didn't know her, you wouldn't know that she was holding in tears or sadness. And you guys are, as a zodiac, you guys are really good for that. You're strong in that sense. But I want to say, like, give yourself permission to cry this month, Aries. Give yourself permission to acknowledge the loss that you have experienced, that there's an opportunity for healing here. There's an opportunity for healing, and it's almost like this pain, this deception, this narcissistic energy. Okay, I feel that's relevant for some people. Acknowledge the emotional pain. It might have been even something that's happened within family. Surely it can happen within a marriage, within a connection. This energy of feeling selfish if I move on from a marriage. But certainly experiencing this selfish energy when it comes to a new love connection, a beginning that was a false start is what I'm feeling. But when the Tower comes up, everything comes crashing down, okay? There's a Tower moment here that awakened you to truth, to understanding, clarity in some way, when systems and marriages and relationships fall apart, when shocking truths are revealed. There's something here that is processed, you know, when it comes to the last 2 years, and ultimately how it affects the next 2 years of the choices you make in doing this healing, allowing these emotions to be expressed and experienced by self. It ultimately impacts the next 2 years for you, Aries, in many ways. With the Lovers in reverse, you know, we are not open to we're not open to connectivity. We're connecting for... We're feeling like we don't have a choice because this is a head or heart decision. There's something here, the fears that keep us at bay, making us feel like we don't have a choice. Maybe that is to do with taking accountability, okay? Maybe that's because our focus has been on the external, when really everything happens in here, okay? Happiness happens in here. And when we get to the crux of it and be honest and authentic with ourselves, how we experience the other is completely up to us. With the Lovers in reverse, this Gemini season really is an opportunity for you to identify the realms of love, Aries, and to look upon your journey and how you've made every decision based on either your heart or your head. How many have been made in balance, union. This is imbalance. This is balance. Feeling guided by angelic guidance, the sunlight, whatever the case may be. Accepting there are two halves. It's an ending. I'm afraid to start something because I don't want something to end. I'm afraid of taking a risk and opening my heart because that's just how things go. Things end. That's that frequency I was picking up on earlier when I was mentioning that happiness it exists, yes, and it is true, and it exists at many different times, but not every single time. It's like I don't want to make a beginning in case it ends would be almost such a shame, you know? It's these moments that awaken us, just like these beautiful moments awaken us too. And perhaps in order to experience true spiritual healing, okay, which is what the Temperance card traditionally is. It's a blending and mixing of both the waters that she carries, both the cups. In true Temperance healing, it's a blending of the two, accepting and knowing that both of these are real. You know, this endings and beginnings are all real. And to hold ourselves back and not make choices based on those fears will always keep us further away from any beginning and keep us deeply connected to something that should have ended a long time ago. And the past will be carried there like a weight. And the future and the desire for change will never be met because it's always so far away. Wow, I'm feeling like I'm hitting a thing here now. The past is at play, and I do see in many ways you're watching, someone's watching you, you're wanting to manifest a new beginning. You will manifest something, manifest an opportunity at a new beginning with someone from your past, with someone that feels like a strong soul bond. There is an opportunity here to genuinely open your heart, to rush forward like you would in true Aryan style. This is the Knight of Swords, a very fast-moving energy. But there's beauty in this combined connection. Look at this. There's conflict. Yes, I'm conflicted. Do I do my old ways? I'm feeling conflicted here. Do I follow wisdom? Use both. This is almost like using a head and heart decision. To follow your heart, but take your head with you. Use your wisdom, but know that you will always be able to face conflict. And conflict doesn't have to be messy. It can just be a conflicting energy that does not align with our beliefs. But here I am, ready to state my truth. Here I am stating my boundary anyway, and I'm not afraid of conflict because I've gone to the depths within and followed the guidance of my wisdom. Conflict on its own is just conflict. It can get messy, it can get human and ego and shattering and shatter egos, yeah? But conflict that is wise is not conflict in its traditional essence, Aries. When we're coming from a truly wise point of view, we can handle conflict without it shattering us on some level, so that we are free in every moment to choose happiness. Wow, what a month. Time to move forward with honesty and authenticity so that we're making changes, putting down boundaries, making choices that we accept because we want to change, and we accept the weight of responsibilities of any consequence that can come with that, Aries, because we deserve happiness, as does everyone else. And we are wise enough to believe that it is not a constant frequency, and that would be unrealistic, and it is cyclical like all of life. There is an opportunity here to open your heart to love and change, connection, to release the past, truly, in some way, to release the energy cords that tie you to the past. And that is a pretty big deal. There's eclipse energy, okay? We are eclipsing stuff in June. And there's a beautiful energy for you to do so with all of that. All right, my lovely Aries, I hope you found some resonance, confirmation, and some inspiration in the message today. And may you have a beautiful month of June. See you next time. Thanks for watching.